All right, welcome back, Coach Tuba Benson-Jaja for his second season. Coach, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm excited. After a long off season, a much needed off season to kind of be back at it. Just got done with training camp number one, so yeah, excited. Doing the whole mix of work and coaching and family and all the different things. But super excited about the 2024 season. Coming back into the second year coach to build on what we started last year and just see what we can do with this thing.
Yeah, can you speak to that a little bit? Last year, you came in and took over the reins, sort of like after we got the train out of the station. This year, you've had a full off season under your belt. How are you approaching things differently this year?
I think I don't know. I was talking to a few of the coaches and then even like personal friends about how like the second years feel different. Even though I'm pretty confident as far as the coach, I've coached other franchises and colleges and all that kind of stuff before. Definitely felt like there's a certain level of like timidness or timidity that's like gone from last year, and I'm feeling like I'm probably just a lot more bolder with some of the things that like a lot of things that I was hoping the team would respond to last year, and then they did respond, and so now I've got a lot more confidence in some of those things, and then I think a clear vision of some of the things that we need to adjust to hopefully make us a better team. And Yeah, everything from my coaching, but then also like interacting with the coaching staff, and we've got Coach George back this year, who's one of the top defensive specialists in the nation, which is pretty awesome for me to get to like work with. I learned so much from him. Um, you know, uh, Got some new coaches, or Coach Ishan has returned as offensive assistant coach. We've got a few new coaches. Coach Schuyler, who was with us, who last year was assistant coach, has now moved up to offensive coach and has already started to make some really interesting changes with the offense that I think are going to really pan out. And then Coach Abby, who's coming to us from the Tennessee crew, who has already fits in, right? And so it's just kind of for me exciting because I know that some of these people are bringing massive value to our organization, and then like that means I get to learn from them too, and I get to get pushed by them and get held accountable. But then also I know that like I'm feeling a lot bolder. I think some of the guys can already tell, especially after the first training camp, like Tuba's a little different. Part of that has to do with second year. Part of that has to do with just losing the way we did last year. We're just not hitting some of the goals that we wanted to hit. So it's not just about the loss, but yeah. So I'm definitely bolder. That's definitely probably have more excitement than I had last year because I think that I've really realized that we've got a massive ceiling. So there's going to be everything from a different, more direct coach to also a more fun coach, more kind of like free coach. And I know my guys. Like I think I was still trying to figure out guys' names like into like training camp number three. So now I like know everybody's name, even though some of the tryouts I was like calling somebody. No, I was yelling at Victor, but I was calling Will out. Like then Will was like, Coach, I'm over here. And I was like, dang it, and I knew that he was Victor, but my brain said Will, and I think some of that is just being a dad where you just call different names until you get to the right name. But yeah, super excited.
Sounds good. Yeah, I one of the things that you say all the time that I really like when you do it is just being real with y'all. Just being real with y'all, right? Like you will deliver the hard truths, and I think we're getting that a little bit more this year because you know that you can't hide, you can't shelter our team from the gauntlet that is going to be our season, and we're starting off kind of with that mindset that it's going to be hard, and you got to embrace that hard work from the beginning.
Absolutely. I think whether we like it or not, anything that's going to like mean something is going to have a ton of hard work. Fortunately, we got a lot of guys on this team who do like to work hard, and it's up to us as the leadership to kind of give that structure and to make sure they're really focused and intentional with the type of training that they're doing and that we're putting them through. But yeah, they're already working hard. I mean, they were working hard in the preseason before our first training camp. I feel like the team came in with a better in like just in shape better than they were last year. A lot of them just have been, I think, knowing what our training camps were like last year, and I think it was like a little shock for a lot of the guys last year. So I had messages all through the offseason, like I've been doing bear crawls and I've been doing push-ups, I've been, doing my training and all that stuff because they didn't want to be like left behind. But the coaching staff and I have some other tricks up our sleeve to make sure that we're making them work hard and keeping on their toes and kind of increasing their athletic base and like their on the field game intellect and all those things.
Yeah, Tuba time has become kind of its own thing, and I think pretty soon we'll have T-shirts, and maybe there'll even be a
Right,
Tuba
right.
gym called Tuba Time that
Yeah,
spins
it
off.
was funny.
But,
The first try at the first tryout or training camp, I think Frankie Hernandez had a car full of guys and they didn't know my car. So I was backing into the park and Frankie like literally just like cut me off and went into the spot. So he was sitting there and he pulled back out. And I think somebody was like, I think that's Coach Tuba. And I just rolled my window down. My car's windows are tinted. And all of them were like, no. And I
We're
just
gonna
went
pay
like
for
this,
this
and I
one.
was like, Tuba time's coming, and they're like, no. And they were like, it was so funny. It was before practice or tryout, or I'm sorry, training camp on Sunday. And but yeah, I think some of the guys were waiting for it to come, and we've already had some intense training, but there's more to come.
Yeah, we don't haze our rookies, but it's always a shock when Tuba Time comes around for the first time.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've definitely had several pukers already, and there's gonna be more to come. I mean, we're gonna push them and this is what they want. This is why they come and try out for this team. This is why they want to be part of the hustle. And a lot of the young guys, right? The guys we picked up, rookies, they've heard what we were training and pushing for last year, and they want to be part of it. And so those are the type of guys that I want to coach, right? Guys that are coachable, but also want to work hard, who don't complain, just get the work done, and really want to grow.
Can we talk a little bit about tryouts, about who the new additions are to the team, what you saw through the tryout process this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, every year I feel like the trials are more and more competitive. It's tough when you sit and you look at the list and you're able to say, okay, there's a handful of guys that we'd love to be able to, take and help cultivate and build into, the future hustle. Unfortunately, we can only take a certain amount of guys. We didn't have a ton of turnover this past year. We brought back a lot of our main players. I mean, so that's good for us as an organization, as a franchise. I mean, just retention just being high. It's also helped with like team morale, but I think it also what it did was it made us be very selective with the guys that we were bringing in. Right, we needed guys to come in and fill a specific role. Right, either be game ready or if they weren't like game ready to, for us to be able to see some level of potential of what they could grow into. And so, I think what's also happening is I mean, we're so fortunate in the Atlanta area to have so many like just college powerhouses, right? That are good, solid programs, right? So whether they're on the D3 stage or the D1 stage, everything from Georgia, obviously to UAH to USC to Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, the Florida teams, the Alabama teams. I mean, they all feed into us, and so these college coaches are doing such a good job of getting these players like ready, right? So when they come to tryouts, one, they're obviously in shape, they're athletic, and they're hungry, right? And so we've been able to pick up a few players that transition out of their college time in college, and they're we starting to pick up, and already you could see during our first training camp like the level of play, at least to me, felt like it was um, higher than where we were probably through most of our training camps last year. And I think that's a mixture of our guys coming back and knowing our system and knowing that we got to focus kind of, we're being, really focused on what we're doing. And then two, these younger guys that we picked up from tryouts just being really hungry, and already kind of buying into our system, right? They all were tasked with reading the energy bus to make sure that we're all on the same page. A lot of the returners reread or are rereading the energy bus. We got some more reading that we're going to be doing as a team, to make sure that we're all like just moving in the same way, because it's one thing to be like super athletic on the field and you know ultimate smart, but there's also what are we doing to develop like each person, because if we can get develop our minds, if we're all communicating the same, it's going to make us a better team on the field. So yeah, super excited about the tryouts. Super excited about the guys we picked up. And I think there's going to be some surprises in there with some of the guys that I think are really. I mean, these guys are lifting heavy. They're doing. I mean, they're just doing all the things that like I remember when I first started playing Ultimate. Probably John, you too. It's like guys weren't lifting. Like guys weren't in the gym. Guys weren't. It's just kind of like let's just
A
go
lot of
out and
tall,
play.
skinny guys running around doing
Right,
cross
that's right.
country.
No muscles, right? Like at all. And so I even saw yourself throw in there like a calf pick that actually beat some of the guys. They were like, all right, Bosey's calf captain or calf leader, of the team. But that's the kind of crew we have, right? That takes pride in like making sure the body is a machine. And I think it's gonna make a really big difference when we get later into the, beginning of the season, but later into the season for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, so you mentioned we had our first training camp. I've heard things like built different, ready for 6 quarters. What was the tone that you set going into training camp, and how do you feel they responded after the first training camp is completed?
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, I think like I came in like after last season, right? You go through just man, we had a we were really believing we were going to make it to the championship weekend, win that game against Austin. You get through some of the I'm a past athlete, right? So the weeks of like, oh man, what is this? And this sucks, and losing sucks, and we had a really amazing game, but we still felt like we left a few things on the table. In Austin, they took us out in 6 quarters, right? Like basically, and so I told the guys, I said, we were built to go into overtime, right? But it took sudden death, right, for us to be taken out, and they got us, right? And so we have to now be ready to be able to make it 6 quarters, right? We got to be able to make it at a higher level, do even better in quarter number one, quarter two, so maybe we don't go to 5 and 6, right? And so I think the guys have really kind of bought into. I think it's hard sometimes when you come out of a season where it feels like there was just like one or two things we could have done differently and we would have punched our ticket. When the reality is now we got a whole new season. So we can't live on this whole like we got to just get back there and we're just good enough because the reality is we weren't, right? And so really kind of creating that narrative that there's a lot of work that we have to do. And I think the guys are really bought into it. You're seeing them respond with just being a lot of the guys coming back from last year, I don't hear them chirping as like there's not as much griping and complaining. Now that was training camp one, so we'll see once we get into like some of the heat of like later in the training camp five, and once like there's limited play time for certain guys and all those type of things. But at least initially, you can't ask for a better start when guys come in and they're ready to work. And I think we had one of our most focused training camps that I've seen for me, right? Like as a head coach. And like I said, I think they came ready, and I think that the next several training camps are going to only build from there. And I wanted to say that part of that, and I don't know if you agree with this, Bosie, because you've been around there, but like part of that probably has to do with our coaches coming in prepared, right? So Coach George, Coach Skyler, Eshawn Abbey, like they're coming in with prepared. This is what we're working on. They're getting that to the guys before the actual training camp, so the guys already know these are the defensive or offensive schemes we're going to be working on. And we've got a really smart team with a lot of game intellect, and I think we're feeding some of that right now. So it's like keeping them in a place where they're just like, all right, this is what we've been wanting and looking for, and they're getting that. And so I think that's also added to them just being like, we can't have any distractions. We're actually we're being stimulated right now, so we got to be really focused on what we're trying to grow with.
Yeah, I think any team is a reflection of their leaders, and right now we have really smart, hardworking people. And when the team sees that you are that prepared, you clearly put in that much work to present what you're presenting to us. There's a level of respect and being credible that the guys respond to. And I think yeah, we're way ahead of schedule after training camp one. Usually the defense takes it ahead of the offense, but I thought by the end of training camp that the offense had come a long way, which was really, really great. And to your point, we got to maximize every single training camp and make sure we're getting the most out of the entire preseason, because we've got a heck of a start to the season this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was so exhausted I think I lost my voice by first day Saturday. I hadn't got my coaching voice back from the off season yet. So I lost my voice. I think Monday I was like in a few meetings, and I was at my work, and I was like kind of just like real raspy, and but I was so full from the weekend because I think there's just something about being around people who are just willing to work hard. And I think you kind of mentioned the same thing where it was like it was so invigorating, right? Like to just be around the guys, to have like very limited negative, like just very limited, even like let's look back, we screwed up last season. We already went through all that, right? It's like we went through it, we healed, we're 2024, right? And so I left being coming out of it more excited than I went into the weekend, but I was already pretty excited. And usually I go in like at a very high excitement, so it comes out like level, but I came out at a higher excitement and even just a higher like, ooh, we got a higher ceiling than I thought we did, like those type of things. And I'm already pretty optimistic as it goes. So I'm looking forward to seeing us put these pieces together, and then seeing how it translates on the field. I believe we're going to have a better product than we did last year, which all off season I was like, how are we going to have a better product? Our product was pretty good, but I think there's room for adjustment, and the guys they're up to the challenge.
Yeah, that belief is really important, right? So it's all optimism and concepts until we get on the field together, right? And then we start to make progress, and that builds confidence. And then you start to put them through difficult things, and they make it through. That builds confidence, and then they start to believe in this team and what they're capable of. And if we keep building belief one training camp after another, by the time we're done with all of it, hopefully we're confident and battle tested, through a preseason, which it's difficult to be prepared for a UFA season. It's not a lot of preparation time, and the guys have an off season, but that's what we're demanding this year because that's what it's going to take to be successful.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. I think and do it while there are distractions, right? While life is happening, while we're all going through different things. What's so kind of cool too, I think, and you've known these guys longer than I have, right? But just even seeing, some of our veterans, right? Like a Carl just had his first baby, right? And like, that's gonna be a beautiful distraction for him to have, right? But it is gonna be something he's gonna have to navigate through. Matt Smith is about to have his first kid. So it's kind of cool seeing now the evolution of some of the older guys. Like now they're building their families. But these guys have been hustle since day one, right? And so it's there's a lot of these things that the younger players are going to be able to learn from them as they watch those players navigate through, new things that are entering their lives that like are beautiful things to have, but will also just be part of one, things that help them grow mentally and help them grow personally. But then two, it's going to also Carl was already, he's like working out harder, right? Like because he's like, I don't want my baby to see no chump on the field, right? And so, and I remember going through that where it's like I would, it's like, oh, there's my son really only saw me like coaching, but I was like, all right, well, I can't lose as a coach, and so, and Rowan who comes out to some of the training camps, he's 9 now, but when I was coaching before, he was 2 years old, and he would talk about that stuff, and he's already asking questions about the players. Is the team good? How are they looking? He's excited and ready, and so I'm excited for some of our players who are going through that journey now too, who will be getting some of those questions before they know it from their little ones.
Yeah, and I love this about the hustle. It's like we're trying to be successful, and we know that's not just about addressing what it takes to be successful on the field, but also just making individuals more successful. And part of being successful on the field is making sure you have the rest of your life in order and that you're succeeding enough everywhere. Because if you're too unbalanced, you can't be successful on the field. And so I love that approach to how you coach and how this is structured now.
No, it's definitely cool. I mean, you would hope that most organizations would be like this, but whether it's in sports or not, but it's like really great because like when Carl had that baby and he posted, the picture inside the team Slack, I mean, it was an explosion of like congratulations, right? It's like, it's something that everybody was anticipating, and people who've known him, and his lady longer have been anticipating even longer, right? And so it was just really cool to see his excitement. And so then he's like working out at the hospital. He's like, but it's like just a family feel, right? And that's what I think, for years we're trying to build, right? It was like, hey, we're a hustle family, and that's hard to do because we bring in players from all over. They're driving in 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But it's even after training camp one, I just really appreciated, I was able to probably hang out about 30, 45 minutes before getting back on the road to head back to Savannah. But guys were just like sitting around hanging out, like just chatting, right? Like they literally after the last like sprint all died on the line and are laying down, and you see them going up and picking each other up like they've just been through some type of war, right? But then literally 10 minutes later, they're joking, they're drinking their chocolate milk. Shout out to JP. I know you're sitting at home listening, and you'll be getting your cleats on at some point before
Getting
the
married
season
tomorrow. Yeah,
starts.
JP getting married tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. But just a real family brotherhood, camaraderie, accepting of all people, all types of people. And I appreciate being part of it and kind of adding to it as well.
Yeah, and a shout out to the significant others, friends and family that are, at every game. Like it is a really strong contingent of people who, are super supportive of making this happen. Like everybody who's on the team had someone behind them that is supportive of the amount of hard work we demand out of them. And we ask people to invest into into the team. And you have to have somebody's understanding in your life to see it as an investment and not a sacrifice and not to feel like they're giving something up. So I love that we have all that support and that really helps us, spring off of that platform. So thank you to all of them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
And push them harder.
Yeah, yeah. You get them some more sleep, some more food,
That's right. That's right.
better diets.
Yep.
All right, Tuba. Well, every time I talk to you, I end up coming away more excited and optimistic for the future. You just have that way about you, so I appreciate that, and it's great to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing all your swag back there, so I had to make sure that Hustle fans were not let back down by me. Let's
Mm.
go hustle. We're ready. I got my flag. It's always in my office. It's always ready. That way, people when they come in here, it's not always out. I mean, you got to be like professional, most of the time, but it is here. So I had to make sure I was matching your energy with some of that hustle swag. But yeah, I appreciate you, and I look forward to continue these conversations.
Sounds good. We'll do another one soon.